Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening up in the stars above. And I can tell you it's been a Mercury retrograde sort of morning here. Thus, the reason why I look like I wasn't coming in, and then I was. Uh, this morning's fun was all about the printer. And well, it started out with the camera, as it always does. The camera, uh, for whatever reason, just decides not to select the camera that I want it to select. So I had to restart my computer. And then I forgot I was printing when I did that, which meant that it only printed part of the document. So then I had to figure out where I was so that I could start the printing again. And then when it printed, it didn't match up. So I was just fun stuff with technology this morning. I hope all of you are having a much more peaceful morning and that your technology is not failing you. So we find ourselves today at the point that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, where the two T squares are activated, the one that involves Jupiter and Mars at the apex point in Gemini, and the full moon one that has the apex point over at Uranus. So we've talked this literally to death, right? I mean, hopefully you guys have a great understanding of number one, T squares. What does that mean? How do they work? And two, how does the T square with Jupiter and Mars at the focal point work? And what does it mean? And how does the full moon T square with the point at Uranus work? And how does that affect you? So today we're going to go on to, well, what comes next? Because the T squares are great. And there's likely been some, real things that have been going on for you that are kind of, the feeling is like being pushed through the eye of the needle. Like you're insistent, like the universe is insistently pushing you somewhere. And wherever that apex point is, the Jupiter Mars conjunction or Uranus, so Taurus if it's Uranus and Gemini for the Jupiter Mars conjunction, wherever those 2 points are, that's where you're being pushed, right? Where you're being pushed. In my own chart, it is Jupiter and Mars in Gemini in my 12th house. So as you might expect, I've been pushed to look at all the reasons I'm using all of the stuck places, all of the unconsciousness, the limitations, and how am I going to move through those? Well, that's always fun. And then for me, Uranus is in Taurus in my 11th house, right? They're houses that are sequential. And that means working with a dream or goals, um, working with groups of people, i.e., you guys. And to that end, I had this observation this morning that I want to share with all of you, not just from my own life, but I want to share this for all of you because it is so impactful, or at least how it landed on me was so impactful. But first, before I do that, let's say good morning to everybody popping in. There's a lot of you already here this morning. Good morning, Diana. Good morning, Debbie Tibbetts-Tumiel. She says, happy Sturgeon full moon. Tom W., hello to you. LS, aka Chester's mom, hi, all. It's a great day. TD Hawk, good to have you with us. Joan Durchy, good morning to you. And TD Hawk says, oh my gosh, yes, my printer, just nothing. Ugh, I've had to send printing out. It's like every time there's an update in Microsoft, because I'm a PC user, so I get my updates from Windows. It feels like it messes up my computer, and suddenly my camera doesn't get recognized. Sometimes it's my printer that doesn't get recognized, and I have to go through this whole process of getting it all reestablished. Yay for me. Yay for you. Debbie Tibbetts-Tumiel. The question for me is more like, what hasn't failed? Oh, well, this too shall pass, this or something much better. I want to address that in just a minute here after I say good morning to everybody else. Terry Lee Strauss, good morning. Good to have you with us. Amy D, hello to you. Nargis, good morning. Terry says, my printer croaked. I wonder, I have this it's a conspiracy theory, so it doesn't mean it's true or not. But I feel like when your device, a printer, for example, gets to a certain age, then all kinds of stuff starts happening from the updates to tell it, tell you that you need a new device. So I've had this printer since, well, I was living in the other house. So 2011, 2012, maybe. And it's been a great printer. I am loath to let go of this printer. But these things keep happening, and it makes you wonder, okay, are they purposefully sending out signals that tell your printer it's too old and not to work so that you will go and buy a new updated one? That is such a conspiracy theory, but it's possible, right? So Terry, I feel for you, right? TD Hawk says, yes, it's that. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Jacqueline. And good morning, Patty. It's good to, or TJ, whichever one of you it is, or both of you it is. It is great to have all of you with us. So here's what I want to preface this morning's show with, because this has been something I have been, I don't know, I could say, I guess I've been working on this all my life, but the rest of you, you've been working on something too, likely for all your life, because your life is an evolutionary journey, right? And when I began to learn to read the Akashic records, one of the things that we talk about is your soul's frequency. And the soul's frequency is a number that is anywhere from, say, 4 point something all the way up to 5.9. I've yet to find a 6.0, but somewhere there is, this number that represents your soul's frequency. And that is a sort of it's a number that represents your soul's evolution. So you would say that your soul's evolution, of course, is coming from over time and maybe over many lives, and this number represents how far you've come. Okay? Most of you who are listening to me, most of you who are even interested in astrology or in bettering yourself or in raising your consciousness or in healing or in any metaphysical or, oh, I don't want it to sound like it's just metaphysical people, but people who are, working on themselves and raising their consciousness throughout their life, you are all likely in the 5.0 to 5.9 range. That represents that you have enveloped a fifth dimensional consciousness. Okay. And there are a good bulk of people that are probably in the 4.0 to the 5.0 range. They're the people who are living their lives, but they have not yet gained this idea of a consciousness and how is it that I'm evolving. They're more, caught up in the everyday world and the rat race, if you will, that kind of thing. And I'm not saying this as a judgment. This doesn't make us better because we're in the 5.0 up. It doesn't make them worse because they're not. It just means, we're all in this evolutionary journey. And where we are on that journey is one of the things that we see. Well, for a good chunk of us, we are aiming for the sixth dimensional consciousness. That's the evolution on the planet at the moment, right? And fourth dimensional consciousness is really about the mind. And so those people that are in the 4.2, 4.9, they're really caught up in the mind, right? The mind and logic and not that logic is bad, please, again, not judgment. Just, this is this consciousness. They're really caught in that mind level. The fifth dimensional consciousness brings us into the higher mind. So we think of the fourth dimensional mind as being information only that you get from mind activities. The fifth dimensional consciousness is the divine information stream. So we tap into our higher consciousness for, wisdom to check out, what it is that our soul is wanting us to do next or where we're going. The fifth dimensional consciousness is really about how it is that we're connected to the divine and our recognition of that connection to the divine and the growing relationship that we have to the divine. So, or that could be to source or to God or to universal mind. It doesn't matter what you call it, just to your higher self. As we start to move from the fifth dimensional mind, or from the fifth dimensional level, we move into the 6D. And this is where what I said to myself this morning is located. And this is where we embody. We don't just play lip service or gain more information about or consciousness about, let's say, astrology in my case, or gene keys or any of that. We actually live it. We embody it. Embodying your soul's gifts and embodying your soul's frequency, right? Now, in our frequencies, we never move backwards. So your evolution is sort of this way, right? It's moving up. It doesn't circle back down. So like you don't come back as a 4.0, right? It doesn't work that way. And if you've achieved, let's say, a 5.7, let's say that's about the average that I'm seeing people at about now. So the 5.7, you're not going to go back to 5.6. You're going to be stretching and growing and increasing your capacity to hold sixth dimensional consciousness, right? Because we're always striving for the next level. But the next level is the difficult jump. It's always the difficult jump because you can't just do that by learning more information, right? You've got to at some point decide, okay, I'm going to embody all of these principles, right? I know, for example, my soul's gift is communication, divine communication. And I'm here to teach, right? My superpower through Mercury is teaching. And I have hesitated to do that. I have not embodied that. I mean, you guys might not see that because you see me come here twice a week and I'm teaching, but I really haven't yet embodied it. I'm trying, but I haven't quite done it. So my evolutionary journey is taking me into that sixth dimensional consciousness to embody the soul's gift. And then that means you're not seeking, trying to learn, trying to add more to your repertoire. You are actually living it, right? You're taking it's sort of like deciding one day to do everything in terms of the ideas that you come up with and embodying those, becoming those things. It's an interesting distinction, right? So as we're all as we're all working through our lives, we are seeking to evolve. I mean, that's the purpose, right? If you want to know what your true purpose is on this planet, it's to evolve to embody your soul's gifts. So simple, right? It sounds so easy. But it's not always that simple, right? We have to actually, first of all, we have to become conscious of what it is that our soul gifts are. And if you need to know that, I can actually help you with that because I can take it into the Akashic records and bring that information back in. And so you'll know what is my soul gift or gifts. Some of you have, one, I have one, some have two, right? So some people are embodying both of those gifts or meant to embody them, right? So now this process takes us into a conscious way to evolve, right? Not just letting it happen, right? Not just letting it happen because it will still happen over time. The difference about embodiment is you're bringing it out of the realm of the ideas or of the consciousness stream, and you're bringing it into the physical realm, which is why you're on Earth. You're on Earth to bring it into the physical realm to demonstrate in your body your soul's gifts, right? Well, your consciousness, your evolution. All right. And that is something that is coming about. If it's not dawning on you, it most likely is dawning on you, especially with the force of these T squares pushing us in a certain direction. Um, if it's not just dawning on you, then you're taking action. If it's only dawning on you, then you need to take action, right? That's the next step. What am I going to, how is it I'm here to embody my soul's gift of communication, right? And my son's energy of the voice, right? Sharing the voice. So, anyway, yes, I can, Terry. Can you tell at a young age? Absolutely, because the soul came into the body with that gift, right? With that gift. So, how do we find out our number? Same thing, Tom, in a session when I did and I remember doing your soul realignment. In the first part of that session is your soul's alignment, right? Where are you right now? And so we got that number, your 5 point something, during that period of time. And I'm certain that all of you are in the 5.0 and up because you wouldn't be sitting here. You couldn't listen to me and get what I'm saying if you were under that, right? We wouldn't have the same frame of reference. So you got to know you're somewhere between 5.0 and 5.9, and I'm going to say you're most likely all between 5.4 and 5.7. That's where the bulk of people are at this moment in time. But that shifts, it can shift slowly, right, over time throughout your lifetime. But we can do ourselves a lot of favors by being conscious of it and then seeking to embody those qualities in our lives. And all of this conversation, which is so fascinating to me, and I could talk forever about this, but all of that is to say that when I sit here and tell you about your astrology is the map. It's the as above, so below, right? It's the map, and it's telling us the timing of something. It's telling us the what of something. And in your own personal chart, it's telling you the where of something, right? That is pushing you into this evolving consciousness that you are a part of, right? We're all a part of the consciousness stream. Even if those people in the 4.0s don't realize it, they are in this consciousness stream, right? And they're working to move into the next level. So today, as we're being pushed through the Uranus in Taurus, in whatever house that is in your life, that's the what and the timing, right? The where is in your own chart. So be thinking about that because this is a place in your chart where you've been stuck, perhaps, right? Where you've gotten only up to 5.7 perhaps, and how do I get to 5.8? Better yet, how do I get to 5.9 so I can make the jump to 6.0, which is entirely possible for every one of you in this lifetime. It's a choice, right? You're going to choose to embody your gifts. And then the other one, pointed at Jupiter and Mars, tells us, well, where's the growth opportunity? Right? Uranus is pointed at the point where you need to release something, where you need to change, where you need to let go, where you're stagnant, where you're in a rut. And the Jupiter Mars point are going to show you what is possible, right? Where's the next expansion? What's the next big deal that's coming up? Okay. I hope everybody understands this. And certainly, those of you who are out there that have already had a soul realignment with me, it is a good idea to have another one. Right? Because it's been probably 2 years for most of you, at least the beginner ones that jumped in, and, if it hasn't been at least a year, then there's no point in doing this, but, for those of you who've been a year to 2 years since you've had your soul realignment, it's time. It's time to redo it, because what happens is more of the stuff that's standing in your way gets revealed, and that frequency points us into what is it that you need to do next, right? Or how is it that you need to jump to that next step? It is not inconceivable that there could be people on this planet that could jump into their seventh dimensional consciousness in this lifetime. That would be a huge jump, a huge leap, but I don't see why it couldn't happen, right? So there's always growth. There's always a way for us to move ahead. All right, Debbie, let's go to your failing machines or failing. She said, I'm going to go back and read it. Debbie says, what hasn't failed? And I love her attitude because she's like, "Well, this too shall pass." So Debbie, yes, wonderful attitude there. Um, when things and you're a Taurus, Debbie, right? You're a Taurus, and I wanna say that your sun is in the 5th house, isn't it, of Taurus? So it's if it's not 5th, it's 6th, but I think it's 5th. And the 5th house is a house of creativity and joy and play. And failures of things all around you could point you to a failure of finding joy or finding something that's more joyful to express yourself through. And not a failure. I don't mean to characterize it as that, but the failures are showing you, what you need, less of, which is the old stuff, and you need to get more of what's new. What is it that you really, love? Bringing more of those things into your current day's life. And it is also not unusual for all of those things to happen during a Mercury retrograde, but I think you were actually seeing these things start to happen before that point. So it's just sort of interesting to look at it that way. So Jolie, good morning. Asa, that's where I want to jump to the 7th. You know what? I would have to go looking up what it means to jump in to be in a 7th dimensional consciousness. I I am ready. I want to move to the 6th dimensional consciousness. And I want all of it's what it's going to take. We all need to get past this place where we are so that we can become more of that golden age consciousness, for lack of a better word to call it, right? Golden age consciousness would mean to me that we are all open to embodying the best of what we are and who we are without regrets, without shame, without guilt, without any of those shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? That we just do it. And then we support everyone else who's also on that path to do their embodiment of their soul's gifts and their soul's purpose, right? That is how this world and the chaos around us gets moved into that higher dimensional consciousness. That is how it happens. And if we're conscious of that and we know this, right, that is the first step. You don't we can't act on what we don't know. But since now we know, there isn't necessarily, more information that we need to get except from our higher selves about what to do next. But since we are also stuck in a sort of consciousness where we are right now is our consciousness, we might need a nudge, right? Somebody to tell us something that pushes us over. But it's not just enough to know. You actually have to take steps, take the next steps. J Lo, happy Monday to you. Debbie Tibbetts, I've had tons of stuffed bread. Okay. Gayla Seeger, good morning to you. She says, hello, Galactic Souls. J Lo, here I jump in when you're speaking of the 7th dimension. Oh, I know. That's funny. That's perfect. Must be what you needed to hear. Amy D, when you say Uranus is where we need to release, is that the house where Uranus is in our birth chart? No, no. Amy, that's a great question. It's where Uranus is transiting through Taurus right now in your chart. So it might be easier for you than at first to look for Taurus. Taurus looks like, hold on, you might know what he looks like, or she. Or if it's a bull, it's a he. But it's a feminine sign. How interesting is that? Here's what Taurus looks like. Find that around the outer wheel of your astrology chart and then look down toward the center circle and you'll see a number in that little pie slice that tells you what house it is in. And that house tells you what area of your life that is needing to have release. Okay? I hope that helps. Now, you could look to where Uranus is in your natal chart to give you hints about from birth what it was that you what path of liberation and release and freedom that you were taking. What was it you were going to need to liberate yourself from? Okay. If you guys are confused about that, tell me so I can clear that up before I go on to the morning. Debbie Tibbetts, I need to go back to painting and travel. Hallelujah, Debbie. Exactly, right? Because that's what you love, because that's where your passion is, because that's where the Uranus release, or that's where your sun is in your natal chart. Because you're a Taurus, Uranus is also there, right? And it's pushing that release. Maybe the full moon is the time. Remember, the full moon today occurs at, let's see, 11:26 a.m. my time, 2:26 p.m. for those of you on the East Coast, and then 6:26 this evening for those of you, say, in the Universal Time Zone, Europe time. And a full moon is a time of revelation, like the bright light of the sun and moon coming together, that reflection of your internal self being seen in the outer world. Culmination, release, right? Aha moments. This was a concept that was brought to me from doing the work with Dane Rudyard's moon information, where the full moon is actually an opportunity for us to start something new as well, because it's the light of consciousness that we have at that moment, the sun and the moon's reflection, that we can use to get us moving forward. Where at the new moon, we're in the dark. We're in the dark. We have an intention and we say, okay, I want to be a millionaire. And I'm setting the intention to start my business, or I'm setting the intention to get healthy. But we're in the dark. There's no light. So it's pure intention, yes. And it's the beginning point of our creating something. But until we have this light of this full moon, we don't have an idea yet about what is dawning on us. What is that light showing us about our next steps, about who we are, about how do we play, how do we take that intention that we set with the new moon in the dark, which, by the way, we have no clue how that's going to play out. And as we take those steps to move forward to accommodate that intention, we get to the full moon 2 weeks later, right? We're at the full moon, and the full moon shining all of its light, helping us to see, well, I need to release that. I need to let go over there. I need to bring in more of this, because the light is bright. And then we can move forward to the closing phase, which brings us into the consciousness shift that we need to make in order to accommodate the intention we set back at the new moon. It all works together. They're not just like moments in time so much. It just so happens that this moon is a very powerful one, because it's a super moon, and because it's a blue moon, and because it is forming a T square with the planet Uranus, helping us to release all the stuff, right? All right. Uh, Jupiter's in my 5th house. So, Miss Hawk, it looks to me as if Jupiter, so is that your transiting Jupiter right now? Is that where Gemini is in your chart, or do you mean that is where it is for birth? That makes a distinction. Christine Buckingham just got another letter 5 minutes ago about my hacked healthcare information. They are offering 2 years free of credit monitoring. These hackers are pains in the you know what. Yes, indeed, they are. Debbie Tibbetts, me too. Sign me up for that redo thingy. You got it, sister. Christine says it's a system-wide hack. I've gotten that letter too. I already have credit monitoring from some other hack from some years ago. So, yeah. Corey Braverman, full moons are endings. Not so good for Camilla. Not so true, Corey, because Camilla was born at a full moon. She was born with the full moon across Aries and Libra. So she is in her shiny moment, right? This is her coming into fullness of some sort. Now, does that mean she's going to be successful and become the president of the US? Who knows for sure, right? We have to see how she embodies her divine gifts. But when you're born at the full moon is your friend, right? It is your friend. And she has an Aries moon, And that goes quite nicely here because it's a bold move on her part to do this. It is a path of initiation for her in some way, shape, or form that moves her forward. So, woohoo. Um, and Debbie, break. Sorry, no glasses on. Terry Strauss. Oh, third house. Right, exactly. J-Lo, I have to release myself since my sun and Mercury in the 12th Taurus. Uh-huh. And Nicole Duke, you are the best teacher. I love you, Janet. Keep preaching. I love you too, Nicole. Thank you for saying that. Corey, yes. Okay, so new moons are new beginnings only because that's what we've been taught, right? So we get caught in the dogma of the new moons. Now, that's not to say a new moon isn't a new beginning because it really is. But it's in the dark. Remember, the new you don't see the moon when it's new. It's dark. Now, on one hand, that allows us to dive in deep inward so that we can see perhaps from our inner self, from our inner eye, from an introspection mode, what it is that we want to bring into reality. What is it that we want to bring out? And we can set a very powerful intention at the new moon because it's the beginning of a cycle. Not just because it's a new moon, but because it's the beginning of a cycle that runs from new moon to new moon. But literally, we're in the dark until we get further along in that moon and things start to play out. Our actions start to mirror what it is that we want to do in order to bring about our intention. So we get to that first crisis point, and it's now like, well, I've played with this intention, and now I have to do something to bring this intention into reality. What is it that I do? And then we take those actions. Hopefully, we're taking actions. And then we get to the full moon. The full moon gives us another opportunity to see with the light on this time what's working, what's not working, and to then take new steps toward consciousness raising because the next square is the consciousness, right? And then we come back to the new moon. So it's a cycle, but try not to get caught up in the dogma of what you think it is timing wise because it isn't only at the new moon that you can set intentions or that you are taking action or that you are moving forward in your life. Don't undervalue the full moon for its revelatory energy because it can really go boom, the lights are on, right? And then that's not even talking about yet where your own natal moon is and what part of the cycle it's in. Okay. So we have that, but I don't want to go there today necessarily. Amy D, you're still confused about what, hun? Tell me what you're confused about. Um, Word salad. I love it. Amy D, when you say outer wheel, you mean where all the planets are now. So my birth chart has Taurus in my 10th house. It's my MC, and Mercury is there at 14 degrees. And so my birth chart has Taurus in my 10th house. Does that mean then you're saying, so yes, so there's career changes about for you? That would be where if Uranus is in your 10th house, there's some changes going on in your perspective around career or your profession, or even more deeply than that, it's your worldly self. How do I want to be seen by the world, and what do I do to be seen by the world in the way that I want to be seen? So, what steps do I want to take there? And it could, translate into changes in your work, in your workplace, in the work that you do, in the career or profession that you do. So, how you call up your authority, how you live your authenticity. So, that would be you freeing yourself, hopefully, from any constraints that you've been holding yourself back from. I hope that makes sense. And JLo, a redo, maybe. I'm not sure. With Mercury retrograde for sure. Praying for her to shine on. Indeed, I do think it's real unfortunate after speaking with the credit bureau. Oh, these hacks are just getting to everybody. Um, the DNC convention is going to have lots of crazy stuff also. Interesting, right? The timing of that convention beginning on the day of T squares, on a full moon, on the date that we have all of this high energy with Mercury in retrograde. I mean, it's amazing. So we'll just have to watch, right? We just have to watch. But not get so caught up in it, right? Because, those are other people's lives too. We got to stick with our lives. We got to do what we need to do. Christine woke up at 3:03 a.m. and the moon was amazingly golden and bright with an extended aura all around it. It was beautiful here too after a weekend of crazy thunderstorms here. We never have thunderstorms, or rarely. Like I could probably count on my two hands the times that I've experienced a thunderstorm living here in Washington. And Saturday night, OMG, it was ridiculous. This line of thunderstorms just moved right up from the south and kept marching up through Puget Sound. And by the time it was probably, I don't know, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, there was the greatest light show I've ever seen. I was like, Uranus at work, right? This is the unexpected in a place that doesn't normally have this. It was lightning, which is a Uranus ruled thing, and thunder, and hail and rain and wind. It was just crazy. I felt like I was back in Texas somewhere, except it was chillier. So Terry, if you're an Aquarian and it's a blue moon in Aquarius, then all those Aquarian planets are being lit up for you, Terry. And I know you happen to have quite a few of them there. TD Hawk says, I'm looking at my natal chart done on your site. The previous one I had done was split and confusing, probably Placidus. Taurus is in the outer circle on the line between third and fourth house. Is Taurus house to the? Oh, see, now this is why, TD, I use whole signs in my house setup. And that's because then one sign, one house, right? All the planets in that sign are in that house. It just makes things more complete. It is a system that is an older system, and then, how sometimes we get technology and technology makes things more complex and not necessarily any better. Well, the same thing happened with the house designations, right? There's, I mean, literally, I think 22 different kinds of house designations now that we could use. So I just went back to the simplest. Simplest was whole sign. So any planet that you have in Taurus is in the same house, right? So it would sound like perhaps Taurus is in your third house, and the third house would be a house of communication. So everything about Uranus right now would have to do with communication or the mind, beliefs, teaching, learning, and also then have to do with Taurus. Where is that stuck? Or where are you in a comfort zone? Because the stuckness for Taurus isn't just about being stuck. It's not like I'm in a rut and I don't have choices. It's that it's comfortable. I'm in a comfortable place. Why should I change? That's what Taurus comfort zones are all about, or Taurus stuckness is about, right? So it takes an injection of energy and consciousness, energy, consciousness to move out of that stuck place, right? So in that third house, communication. Now, if by chance it happens to be in the fourth house, then that would be about being stuck in terms of your foundation or your roots, and what's it going to take to move you off of that or forward in some way. It could be about setting something to do with the female line in your ancestry, your mother, your sisters, your aunts, grandmas, and so on. So take a look at that. And you're welcome, Amy and Chester's mom. All will be well. Praying for that, indeed. And so the Astro House is the left of each line. It's between two lines. Okay, let's look at this. Let's look at this. Here's Taurus right up here up at the top, right? And as you'll see, these are the houses around the center circle. Where's my pen? Ah, there you are. So all of these represent the houses, okay? And each pie slice then is a house or an area of life. That's what the house is all about. It's an area of your life. Here's Taurus, right? And Taurus, for if this were a chart of a person, is in their 10th house of career. So you can see here's the planet Uranus at 27 degrees. The midheaven of this chart would be at 20 degrees. And so the transiting, because this is actually transiting, this person would be having Uranus transiting through their 10th house, impacting what they do in the world or how they draw in or spread out more appropriately their authority, their authenticity to the world. How do they show up in the world to serve? Right? It has a lot to do with reputation and what people gain from the work that you do. That's a career. Okay. Um, Yes, the outer circle has the astro signs on the line, not in the houses. Correct. The houses are more down. But, you just as you start to orient to the chart, as you start to really look at this, let me see if I can make this still. You can see like it starts over here at Leo, right? This is the first house for this person, if this were a person, and moves around counterclockwise. So moving from this direction around from the first house. See the little number there, 1, all the way around to the 12th house, right? With each house or pie piece representing an area of your life. And so when a planet is transiting through that house, it stimulates or brings up events, opportunities, challenges by in that house based on what other planets you might have there by birth or how that impacts other planets around the chart because believe it or not, all these planets in this chart are in some kind of relationship. And all these lines here show you that the planets are in relationship with one another. If you have your own chart and you see red lines, these are kind of challenging. When you see blue lines, those are places of ease. When you see green dashed lines, yowza, this is a yod pointing at the ascendant. If this were a person, they would have, some very big configurations creating challenges or tension in their lives that they would need to solve or find a way to move through in their lives. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps. Christine Buckingham, Taurus rising and South Node first house. So totally Uranus, Leo, fourth house. Leo, fourth house. So in your case with the South Node in Taurus, this lifetime, my guess is this because to me, when I look at a South Node in someone's chart, it's showing me a previous lifetime. It's showing me what's left over, like what was left undone, what wasn't well integrated in another lifetime. So you take all those experiences, you take that karma, if you will, and you take those gifts and skills that you used in that lifetime, you bring them forward into another lifetime. But now those are needing to move to the North Node. So if you have a South Node in Taurus, you're moving that toward a North Node in Scorpio. So you're dealing with life in a different way, in a more deeper, intense sort of way, with a more investigative, let's dig up the dirt and see what's underneath kind of way, with a more passion of what it is that you love kind of way. And if that South Node then is in your first house, which is the house of the self, you're taking that and you're moving it toward the seventh house in relationships and seeing yourself more clearly through your interactions with the other people in your lives. That's what that would look like, or that's what that would seem like. Okay. All right. Yes, I see what you have. Mine doesn't have the sign in the houses on the outer circle. They are on the line between the houses. So trying to figure out which house the sign is assigned. TD, why don't you email me, text me, message me your chart that you're looking at, and I'll see if I can clear that up for you on the side, since there's no way for you to share your chart with me on air here. All right. Wow. So this morning when I said, I'm going to go on this morning and talk about the moon in Aquarius, I didn't expect we were going to get off on this other tangent, but I hope it's been clarifying for you. I hope it's stimulated some thinking about, the fact that you're here, not just playing in the sandbox, but playing in the sandbox with a purpose. That purpose is to evolve your consciousness to the next level. Okay, good. So I know we've talked about the full moon and we talked about all these other things, but did we really talk about, well, what is the full moon in Aquarius all about? Because Aquarius is such a powerful sign for the moon. When the moon moves, somebody on my YouTube channel made a comment about Aquarius energy. And remember the show, this was maybe last Friday. No, because that was P and Colin. It must have been last Monday where we talked about the lines, right? Aquarius, the symbol looking like this, right? Where there are these lines and the lines look like water. And I said, they're not necessarily water, they're interference lines, they're waves, air waves, right? So air waves instead of water waves. But this listener pointed out that air is also a container for water. So remember how we talk about Aquarius being the water bearer, and when you look at it symbolically, it's usually a person holding a vessel, and out of the vessel comes the water, suggesting that then the air is holding the water. And think about rain, right? It's the air, the air mass that's holding the water that then, condenses around particles and drops to the ground, right? As rain. So interesting, right, to think of this because this is about the air sign of Aquarius and the waves of energy that come pouring out of the container of air. Air ideas, air information, air the difference between truth and falsehood, air the idea of technology, of teaching, of learning, of information systems, of AI. All of this is very Aquarian energy. But the theme here is okay, think about this. It's the water falling out of the air. If the water represents the emotions, then what's falling away in Aquarius is our attachment to emotions, right? So, one of the key themes of this Aquarius full moon then is going to be about emotional detachment, right? Unlike the moon, right? So the moon is emotions. It's emotion. It's Cancer is the ruling sign. So we're releasing then our sense of emotional attachment to become more aloof, perhaps, more detached, perhaps. Probably the best word I could use is unattached to the emotional energy, which allows us to become more objective, right? So stepping away from the feelings to see inward in what way is or what the information is from that objective viewpoint. It's easier to take a step back and analyze things from that distance, and it can help us with problem solving, right? We can gain perspective by stepping back. Like if we were able to step back from Earth for a moment and look back, what kind of objectivity would you gain about what's going on this little planet? Right? That's the big way. But if you stepped back from this problem that you're having in your health or in your home or in your unconscious mind, if you stepped back out of the emotion and looked back in, how would you see a new way of solving that problem? Now, it's also innovation and originality. We know that, right? This is the inventive sign. And it's all about breaking free from the norm, breaking free from the old, embracing originality, you embracing your specific originality, right? Your urge here is to think outside of the box, to get yourself detached from the usual. Try something new, right? Get out of your dogmas, explore the unconventional ideas. It's time for brainstorming creative projects, embracing your inner inventor, as it were, right? Embrace your inner inventor. You all have one. It's also time to focus on the collective, which is interesting, right? Because the energy of Aquarius is often centered around the community, right? The collective consciousness, social causes. It's a sign of society, right? It really does bring us there. And we find ourselves maybe more concerned about how we fit in into the group. How is it that I'm here to share of my individuality into the group consciousness, right? Leo, individuality, the opposite sign of Aquarius. The full moon is in Aquarius, the sun is still in Leo. So, how do I share my individuality into the group? How do I contribute myself to the group? Like, no one can do me like I can do me. No one can do you like you can do you. So, contribute your uniqueness. It's an excellent time then to connect with like minded people, join groups, or work on collaborative projects that aim to create positive change in the world, right? To see the future. That's what Aquarius is, the future. There's also an inborn desire for freedom here. It's interesting because Aquarius is very akin to Sagittarius energy, right? With this idea of valuing freedom and autonomy. So during this time, we may feel a need to break away from the restrictions or the routines that feel limiting in your lives. Even your own thoughts can feel limiting, and you need to break away from them, right? These things that you are holding on to, so that in your personal life, in your work, in your relationships, you can express yourself more clearly as to your truth, your authenticity. So, how do we work with this moon Aquarius sort of energy? Well, number one, embrace change. Don't get stuck in the past. It's all about evolution and progress. Evolution and progress. Use this time to welcome in change. Don't resist it. Resistance is futile. It just doesn't hold here. And especially in areas of your life where you feel stagnant. That's the place, right? Not everything in your life has to go, but where it is that you're really feeling stagnant. So be open to new ideas and new perspectives that help you grow and innovate. And then connect with others. Don't stay stuck in your own, world. Get out and about. Aquarius is a visionary sign. So focus on the future. What is your vision of the future? What is the vision for you as you move forward in your life and evolve? Use it to think about the long term, right? Setting intentions for the long term, especially in areas related to technology, humanitarian causes, your personal freedom, your personal work, and how you want to be showing up in the world. Be mindful of detachment, because while all of that conversation I just had about being able to become detached from the emotion, we don't want that to become too distant. We don't want that to translate to aloofness in your relationships. We still need to be able to feel, but we don't need to be able to be so caught up in the feeling that we can't see the truth for what it is. So kind of a balancing act with that a bit, right? So strive between for a balance between empathy, your feeling self, your feeling side, and logic, right? The mind side, right? The more physical expression of the mind. All right. Questions about any of that? Catherine Worcester, good morning. And water is emotions, time is fluid. Ooh, there's this fluidity factor, right? Fluidity. Air flows, water flows. Earth is solid unless you're in an earthquake or you're in being eroded by powers like wind and water. um, and fire isn't flowing. Fire is active, more active than that. So we have two things that flow. Interesting, Tom. Thank you for bringing that up. Christine Buckingham, Aqua balances out, Aquarius maybe, balances out all the water in my chart. Indeed. Flow and eddy. Flow and eddy. They're our best friends. All right. Now, wow, what a morning this has been, right? Okay, let's talk a bit about the gates in your human design where this is occurring, because I thought it was quite interesting, the timing of all of this in terms of the human design year. Because where we find ourselves now is with the sun in the gate 29, which is a gate that sits on the sacral center. So it's related to the actions that we take, it's related to who we be and who we want to be and what we want to do in support of who we are. And the gate 29 is called sometimes the gate of saying yes. It's called the gate of commitment. And it is often about persevering, being committed, being devoted to something in your life. It's the energy of saying yes to life and fully committing to the experiences, the projects, the relationships that you choose to engage in. However, this gate, there's always high, ooh, yes, and the low, which is saying yes to too many things or not the right things, right? I had a long conversation with a client last week about the same thing, right? Wanting to say yes to everything, but needing to only say yes to the right things. And discernment, knowing what are the right things for you and what are not the right things. What commitments align with your passions. The earth is at gate 30. Passion. What are you passionate about? And how are you aligned with your passions or not? So if you're saying yes to things that you're only about, then you're occupying vital energy, vital life force energy to something that is not right for you. And we do this all the time. We do this all the time. I had a friend once that said she only wanted to be with people who said yes to everything. But then that means that at least half of those people are saying yes to things that mean nothing to them, right? Or they're not passionate about those things. So while yes is juicy and fun and exciting and full of potential, if you're saying yes to the wrong things in this particular week, you're going to find out about it. You're going to be like, oh, that is not what I really wanted to do. Why did I say yes to this? And what you want to do is align with the things that are really pointing you at your true purpose, your true self. So when the focus is in the gate 29, like it is this week, you're asked to reflect on where you are placing your energy and how committed are you to those things that you've said yes to that are currently on your path. Are you saying yes to things that truly matter? Or are you overcommitting out of an obligation or a fear or a fear of missing out? If I don't say yes to this, then I'm going to miss out on that. Okay. The key lesson here is to fully commit your energy, but to what resonates deeply with you. And then to practice perseverance, sticking with it in pursuing what you're passionate about, not just jumping in and jumping out and jumping in and jumping out and jumping in and jumping out. That is not what this energy is about. This energy is about saying yes to what's really true, devoting your passionate self to that energy, sticking with it until you get to its conclusion. So it's a great opportunity to deepen your engagement with the things you love, but also to course correct, to let go of the things or the opportunities or the people or the relationships that are not in alignment for you anymore. There's no need to stay stuck here, but lots of times we'll do that. We'll stay only half heartedly committed to something, which drags the energy of the whole down. So it's not a good plan to do that. With the Earth at gate 30, the gate of passion, the 30 is located on the solar plexus. So now we know it has emotional energy with it, right? And it represents the emotional intensity that comes with desire, that comes with yearning, and the yearning and desire to experience life fully. It's the energy of wanting something deeply, whether it's a specific outcome, an experience, a connection, a success. But this passion comes with the challenge of managing your emotional highs and lows, and learning to accept that not all desires will be fulfilled. Sometimes you just have to know that some things are going to fall away. So with the gate 30 this week, with the Earth there, and this is through the 22nd, so we only have another few days. On Friday, I'll go into what the next week is all about. We bring heightened emotional awareness to our desires and what our passions are. And we might feel a strong pull toward those experiences that support those passions, that ignite sort of this inner fire. This is a fire energy. It's called clinging fire, I believe, in the I Ching. And the challenge is to balance the intensity of the desire with patience and acceptance that in this 3D world, things take time. And that recognize that some desires manifest rather quickly and others may not come to fruition in the way that you think. But it is an opportunity. The opportunity is to embrace your passions and to allow them to guide you toward meaningful experiences. The moon in this full moon is at the gate 30, the earth gate. And that earth gate is the 30 of passion, right? So this is a time to honor your emotional drive and your needing to practice flexibility and resilience when things don't go expectedly or as planned, right? You got to stick with things, right? And grounding yourself is another big deal here because the earth is grounding. And as we see in the Success Codex, it is the capacity that you hold. And in order to grow, we have to expand our capacity. So, expanding your capacity here to say yes to the right things in the right time with the right people, the right opportunities, and then sticking with the passion until it comes to fruition. All right. Wow, there's a whole bunch more we could talk about. I might just do another couple of articles for you. Any questions? I'm going to go grab us my deck of cards so we can pull a card for this morning. And I'm not sure which ones want to come out and play. Hmm. I want to say that we might need dragons. Dragons, right? Passion and fire. Fire as an alternative to all the air, all in the mind, right? Getting out of your mind, getting into your heart. Fire represents the heart. Passion comes from the emotions that, lead us to do what comes from the heart. Ooh, okay. We need an. I pulled Air Dragon. Air Dragon says, helps you rise above earthly matters, communicate honestly, brings inspiration and hope, sees life from a higher perspective. Air Dragon. All right, let's read this one. And this is probably a fifth dimensional dragon. And in fourth dimensional dragon. Okay, so 20. I guess, of course, it would be, right? Information, the mind. All right, fourth dimensional air dragons are blue, the color of the sky, and fly lightly around us. Air is the element of communication, and these dragons help us to speak our truth. They also encourage us to breathe properly so that we inhale as much source energy as possible. When air dragons when air dragons puff their energy over a person or situation, they bring new hope and new opportunity. We can call on them to exhale over situations to enable resolutions to be taken for the highest good. In their energy fields, they carry the light of higher possibilities for the planet. Don't we need that? Air dragons suggest you take things lightly, so choosing this card indicates you should relax and look at part of your life from a higher perspective. Air dragons also inspire you to communicate honestly but lovingly in a way that calms and soothes everyone around you and promotes good outcomes. Honest communication will bring pure white light into your aura. And when this happens, everybody will trust and respect you. Blue air dragons are supporting you as you rise above your challenges. They will help you to say the most tactful or inspirational words and assist you to stand in your own power with integrity. Breathe blue and white light into your heart center, and as an air dragon appears in front of you, breathe the light over it. In this way, you are energizing and motivating it so that it will always be connected to you. It is time to decide on your next step, so be clear about what you really want. Your air dragon will accompany you as you fly towards your chosen destiny. Hmm. Perfect. Air dragon. Best card, I suppose, for this full moon. All right, guys, that's it for me today. Thank you all for joining me. I do want to mention something before I go. I am wanting you to circle September 12th on your calendar, as that is the day I will do an introduction to the Gene Keys class. And let because people are asking me about this. I'm a generator, so I'm in response to what you all want. So, introduction to the Gene Keys. It'll be a free class on the 12th of September. I will send out information on that shortly. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a great day, a great week, and a great